Well, first of all, as far as the expectations for the position, I mean, the standard has been set, and I've communicated clearly to our guys, we expect the standard to stay the same, if not get better. Now, obviously, Nick is a tremendous player. He's going to be tough to emulate initially, but the good thing for our quarterbacks is they don't have to. There's a lot of players around them. We got a very good defense, so our quarterbacks don't have to worry about putting everything on their shoulders. They just got to go out there and do their job and execute. Get us in the right play when need be, and distribute the ball to our playmakers. So the quarterback that has the best handle on our system, takes care of the football, and moves the team is going to be the guy that will line up under center or in the shotgun in the first game. So, as far as making comparisons and this and that, we're not. It's a new year. It's a new team. Each one of our quarterbacks, they all possess a little different skill set. They all have their own unique qualities. They all have their things they need to work on as well. But the main thing is that they just focus on their own development, through these next 2-3 weeks, and it'll show itself.
You've got some guys at running back and tight end who give you a lot of flexibility and motions and things that you want to do to try to create matchups. Does that make your job more fun or more difficult as you try to?
Oh, it makes it more fun. I mean, that's as a play caller and as we design our offense as a staff, certainly the more pieces, the more weapons, the more fun. You got to do a good job of making sure the way that you install it, the way that you teach it, you got to make sure it's a progression. So here's play A. Now we're going to progress to B, C. Got to get everything in concept so the guys understand why we're doing what we're doing. The pressure we're trying to put on defenses, the matchups we're trying to create. So it's got to be something that's taught early and then progress more and more so it doesn't just become out of control. But at the time, that's never a problem. I mean, having playmakers and guys that can do different things, being able to get in the same personnel group and be able to run a barrage of different formations, from big personnel groups to small personnel groups, and being able to do different things, especially with wanting to go fast, still going fast without having to change personnel groups all the time. So being multiple there, that's a lot of fun. But at the same time, you got to make sure it's controlled and it's taught and that they understand. We talk a lot about why do we do things the way we do them, and getting our kids and players to understand why and how it's impacting the defense and how it's putting pressure on them. So it's definitely a good situation for us to have those type of guys. And we do it on purpose. We do it in recruiting. We look for tight ends that can block on the line of scrimmage but can also flex out and run a route. We look for running backs that can be 7 yards deep and take a handoff, but also guys that can motion out and run any route in the book. So, everything that we do offensively is by design, and the type of kids that we recruit is by design so that we can be multiple, yet try to keep things as simple as possible and play fast.
Last year, outside looking in, it looked pretty obvious who the leaders were, Joe Keith and Nick Arbuckle.
Sure.
Have any guys stepped up in that type of light yet?
I think a lot of guys have. I think Robert Davis and Keith Rucker are two guys that come to mind right away. Those are two guys that are going into their fourth year that have played a lot of football here and really get it. And both those guys have improved tremendously since they got here. So those are two guys that stick out right away. Mike Ivory is another guy, too, that starting to see his leadership develop. He's getting himself into the best shape he's ever been in. And I expect him to also be a guy that brings, some leadership. And there's different kind of leaders, as you guys know. There's guys that lead by example. There's guys that are more vocal. But the most important thing is, in our unit having good cohesion. And it doesn't have to be a senior. Obviously, Penny Hart has, a tremendous voice on our offense as well, and our whole football team. He proved it on the field as a freshman. And, guys that talk it have to walk it. And he's certainly a guy that does both and both well. But the work ethic as a whole, that's the thing that's fun as a coach. When you see what these guys have done since the San Jose State game, the whole offseason, I told the offense today that, this is just a progression as far as training camp. We've already started our preparation for this season a long time ago. This is just the next part of the progression. Now we're in training camp. Now we have 15, 16 days before school starts where it's pretty much all football. So we get a chance to kind of bunker in here all together and really, just focus on ball before they go off. And get into classes. So it's just all part of the progression. You all have your different phases of the year in preparation for the season. And the neat thing for us is we're not starting from square one. Sure, we have some young guys, that are kind of starting at the beginning of their careers. But for the most part, based on what these kids have done, a lot of it on their own in the summers, we're just in a progression right now. And now we're at a point here where we're in training camp, and let's just keep improving every day.
In terms of adapting your offense to fit the players that you have
Mm-hmm.
now, you talked about how the tournament may look this year. Is it much overhauling it, or is it more shifts and tweaks to when you're going?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see a massive overhaul. I think you'll see a lot of similarities. We certainly have a few wrinkles that we're going to get to earlier than we may have before in training camp because we do feel like it helps us offensively with our personnel. Certainly having quite a few tailbacks and running backs in our system, we want to make sure those guys all get opportunities. So it's not going to look tremendously different. We're just going to try to get better at what we do. And obviously, number one, we want to, our defense was the most improved run game defense in the country last year in FBS, and I challenged our guys on offense. I'd like for us to be in that conversation this year and be one of the most improved Division I running teams. I'm not saying we're going to be number one in the country in rushing offense, but being the most improved. Because if we do, if we're there, or even if we get close, that's going to be a dramatic improvement from where we've been the last 3 years. And so certainly that's an area that we want to spend time and get better at and develop a mentality and an attitude with it. And it starts up front, and our guys up front have, worked on their bodies. They've changed their bodies. They're a group that I expect a lot of good things from this year.
I'm sorry to keep hammering at this.
Yeah.
But the starter's not going to be named until like a day or whatever before the Ball State game, or the day of the Ball State game. But when will you start to cut it down? Because you can't have 3 guys trying to run the first team offense. You're trying to prepare to win.
Well, there is a thought process in place, that will be kept in-house as far as when we start honing in. Certainly, that's going to be dictated by how things go the next 7, 8, 9 days. Just about everywhere I've ever been as a coach or a player, guys are going to get reps from 1 through 4, usually the first few days, first week. And then you got to start honing in. You got to develop that chemistry and that timing. So that's something that's a little bit to be determined based on how the performance goes here early on. But certainly at some point, you got to start, giving the guy or guys, that you feel like are going to play in that first game. They got to start getting more reps at some point. Well, third down, we've been outstanding. We were number 1 in the conference this last year. We were, I think, 2 the year before. But if you look at our third down, and when you break it down, we've been more successful on 3rd and 4 and 5 than 1 and 2. So that was a huge area of emphasis in the spring. They don't keep track of how good you are per 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, but if they did, we were probably the best team, we were the best team in the league in third down percentage based on stats, but we were probably on the back end of 3rd and 1 and 2. Doesn't really add up. So that's obviously an area that we need to improve upon on that third and short situations, and we spent a lot of time this past spring on that. And I felt like we took tremendous strides in the 3rd and 1 and 2 area against our defense this spring and got better at that. So that's certainly an area within third downs we need to improve. We were pretty solid on the goal line. Usually if you're good on 3rd and 1, you're good on the goal line. We were not very good in 3rd and 1 and 2, but we were pretty good on the goal line. So we got to make sure all that matches up, and that's an area that, again, will be emphasized. Is we got to stay on the field, and when it becomes 3rd and 1 and 2, we got to convert. Because, in the last game of the season, we did not twice. And then we took a shot on 4th and half a yard and missed it by a foot. But certainly we're going to get to a point where those are going to be downs where you're always going to have something up your sleeve on those down and distance. It's not, you don't want to be 100% predictable. But we need to get to a point when it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, we're getting our butts on the line of scrimmage, and we know we're coming at them downhill, and we're going to get it. So that's definitely an area that we've addressed, and we're going to continue to work and get better at.
How would you describe this offense, and what are the keys to you to make it be successful, at least in your eyes?
Describing this offense, I think we're an up-tempo spread team. We're an up-tempo spread offense. But we do have with the personnel that we have the ability to be multiple. So as far as us being successful, we just need to be efficient at what we do. We need to run the football better. We need to have a good mixture of run and pass. If you look at the second half of the Georgia Southern game, that was our best football. It was 50-50 run pass, and we were effective doing both. So certainly improving in the run game and committing to it, that'll certainly help us and make us better. But I don't like to put like one label or one word for, you know what I mean? I think we have the personnel here to be multiple. We're not going to just line up in one formation the whole game, and we're going to keep the consistent with our concepts, but give a few different wrinkles, different looks to the defenses, and still try to play, with a good tempo and a good speed.
This offseason, we've really been working on our concept of start fast and finish strong. That was something that we had to work on a lot last year because our first and our fourth quarter were our weakest quarters. We played really good in the second and third quarter, but our start fast and our finish strong. So some examples would be we may start off with some kind of competitive drill in practice, and then we'll go through our workout, and then at the end of practice we'll have a drill called fourth quarter drill, where pretty much the offense is on one side, defense is on one side, and we just come up, we have a cadence, either right, left, and we finish on that. So that's our focus to finish strong. So that's really been our focus this offseason.
Describe the difference in expectations this season compared to your previous 3 years here.
There's definitely a huge difference, especially with, me being here for 4 years, with going on to my fourth year, where we've had seasons where we went 1-11, 0-12, and other teams weren't really expecting a lot out of us. But now that, we're contenders in the conference, we went from being ranked 9th in the preseason polls to 4th. So, that's a big turnaround. So, there's not going to be a team that we go against that's going to be like, oh, we can just go ahead and beat these guys. They're going to be coming and giving us their A game. So that's a big difference between other teams' expectations along with ours. Oh, I have me along with all the other receivers. We have great relationship with all the quarterbacks. Over the offseason, we made sure that we caught passes from not just, one guy that we may think be the starter or the next guy. We made sure that we caught passes with everybody from the starting guy to the walk-ons. You know what I'm saying? We made sure that we caught passes from everybody and made sure that when we are doing our 7-on-7s and stuff, everything is clicking. So I feel really good about my connection with all the quarterbacks at this point.
What kind of personal goals have you set for yourself this season?
As of right now, my main focus is winning. I know that sounds cliche, but I really want to focus on winning right now because at the end of the day, when you're a talented player and when you have talented players around you, if you're going out there having fun and winning, you're going to make plays. Me personally, I feel like with the team that we have this year, it's really exciting for me because it's the best group that I've been around since I've been at Georgia State, with me going into my fourth year. But if there was any one goal that I had to, point out, it would just be to have fun. It's my last go-around, my senior year. I've been through a lot here, and my main focus is just, have fun and win games.
Speaking of focus, just focusing on winning, you saw 5 seniors last year get invitations to NFL rookie games. How are you going to focus on just football and, the moment that you have right now instead of the future?
Just how you said it, focus on now. The easiest way to put it is to make sure that you're focusing on now because you don't want to get too caught up in worrying about, what's going to happen in the future that you don't enjoy the present. So my main focus right now is to be the best college football player that I can be. And in doing that, it may result in me going to the next level. But as of right now, my main focus is just to be, the best I can be for my team and as a college athlete. Yes, sir. Yeah.
You're gonna frustrate them. Are you gonna challenge them? And do you think there's gonna be a little smack talk?
Oh yeah, of course. Since I've been here my freshman year, me and Coach Minter have always had a love-hate relationship. On the field we hate each other because of course he's the defensive coordinator. So if I'm frustrating him, that means I'm making plays. I'm doing my job. So I mean, that was just something I put out there, just trying to bring competition to camp. Because I mean, when I'm posting that, I'm aware that all the other players that follow me are seeing it as well. So that was just something that I was trying to do to make sure I was stirring up competition in camp. Just so we can go out there and compete, have fun, and when we're competing, we're making each other better.
With going into a leadership role, how are you coaching up your freshman receivers?
Just pretty much doing all the things that I was taught, that I learned from guys that came before me, the Albert Wilsons, the Donovan Hardens. I learned from those guys from, the things that they did well and the things they didn't do well, and I try to implement it into, what I do as a leader. So, I mean, Bryson Williams, Bryson Duckworth, a really good example because he's built exactly like me as far as a receiver. So I can relate to the things that he goes through. Like when I first got here, I wasn't very good at, coming out of my breaks. And right now that's one thing that he's been struggling with some. And I'm able to work with him better because I went through that and we're built exactly the same. And along with all the other, young receivers, when they come to me with things that they're going through, I've already gone through it. So I'm able to tell them based off of what I've experienced in my career. Just coming out of my breaks, I came a long way with that, but I feel like you can never, be good enough, with the caliber of DBs that not only have on this team, but in this conference. You have to be able to create separation in order to, get open and, put up productive stats.
How would you describe this receiving core that you're a part of, somebody who's never seen the Panthers play before?
Explosive. I feel like with the amount of talent that we have and that we always have at Georgia State, because as you can see, there's always our receiving core always has explosive guys in it, from me coming in as a freshman, Penny Hart, Donovan Harden, Albert Wilson, the list goes on. So there's only one word that I could use to describe this receiving core as explosive.
Coach was quoted in Athlon Sports about saying once the team got confidence that you guys were able to play good football. Have you noticed that change in terms of the level of confidence in yourself and your teammates, and what do you think has boosted that?
Winning always boosts confidence. I mean, just like Coach Lapano, my receiver coach, what he always says, good reps is what builds confidence. So if you're going out there and you're catching the ball every time they throw it, when you get into the game, you're going to have confidence that you're going to catch it. If you're going out there and you're dropping every ball, when you get in the game, you're going to be like, oh, I might drop this. So pretty much good repetition is what brings confidence. And like you said, to the team, when we started winning, that's what built our confidence, because now we know what we need to do and we know that we can do it. So we know that we can win.
Was there a point this season where you saw that, last season, where you saw that a difference in their confidence and your confidence?
That Ball State was really the game that we started to make that turnaround. I know we lost the game after that, but then after that one loss, we went on a 4-game winning streak. So pretty much Ball State is the game where we were like, okay, we can play against a good level of competition and go out there and compete and win games. It starts today. Yeah. I mean, we prepared for it like we prepared for any game last year. I mean, we have really good coaches here on this staff, and, I mean, they show us the right way to do it, and now it's just on us to come out there the first day of camp and start fast. Bobby Baker, one of our other leaders on the defense, he sent out a message to us, and he told us that we have to force guys. We have to make sure that guys are coming out and starting fast, have a lot of energy, and there should be no excuse with camp starting today because, everybody's excited to be back on the football field. It's football season again. So, really, we have to force guys to start fast, and we'll prepare for it just like we would any other game. I've been asked about that a lot, actually. Pretty much, me and Penny, that's a really good friend of mine on the team. Of course, we both play receiver. And pretty much, we have a lot of athletes at the receiver position, and he texted me one day and was like, hey, man, I'm about to post this dunk. I'm going to act like, we're going against each other, and you post a dunk, and then we're going to try to get some other people in it. So, it's pretty much all in just good fun, just showing our competitive side, just having a good time.
Can you talk about what qualities do you have as a leader, and what have you learned from previous leaders in the past, and how are you different from them?
One thing that I've always had a competitive nature. I've always been one to go out there and whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to win. I don't care what it is, whether we're going out there playing tic-tac-toe, football, one-on-ones. I've always been a competitor. And over the years, I've had to channel that competitive nature because as a freshman, it kind of led to I got too emotional. That was one thing that I had to work on was channeling my emotions. But that's one thing that I've really brought is a competitive nature. And I feel like all the receivers that watch me or that are under me that are coming up, they're going to develop that competitive nature, and that will stay in the program. And, things that I've learned from, previous leaders like Donovan Harden, he was a really, really, maybe not even competitive, just feisty. He was the one that was going to go out there and he was looking for problems. He was a feisty guy, and that just brought energy to the team. So that was one thing that I learned from him. And there's many other things. It's hard to just sit here and think about all the things that I've learned from all the great leaders that came on through this team on offense and the defensive side of the ball. So it's been a lot that I've learned from other guys that have developed me into the leader I am today.
Is there a player on the defense that's kind of caught your attention as far as maybe improved or say, hey, look out for this guy?
There's so many of them. We have a really, really good defense, and as you can see, the whole defense as a whole improved, and with them improving, it made us improve. We were forced to improve because we're practicing against those guys every day. Me going against Jerome Smith and Chandon Sullivan made me a much better player because they're forcing me to work hard to get open. If I'm out there just running routes and I'm getting open easy, it's not going to force me to get any better. I'm just going to go out there against the better competition is confidence, and I'm going to get, pretty much locked up. So, going against those guys and all the other DBs, I know I mentioned Bobby Baker, Brian Williams, we have a lot of DBs, and I say defensive backs because that's who I go against. It's hard for me to relate to what's going on with the defensive line, the offensive line. So pretty much our defense as a whole, is just they really stepped it up and they made us step it up.